Hey there, Alan Combies here. Welcome to another video in a series that I call Morning Coffee with Alan. These videos are really just tips and tools and learnings and understandings that I've gained across the years of working as a transformational coach. My studies in hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, EFT, faster EFT, and everything else. Today, what I thought I would do is address a comment that was on one of my videos. So this comment was on the video titled How I Get Faster Tapping Results for Myself and Others. In this video, I really talk about the power of aiming. The comment on this video was, hey, I've been using tapping to address my stage fright and it isn't working. Can you help me? Is there any way you can help me? So I'm going to do my best to talk about how I might approach stage fright. And this is something that's very, very common. I've had stage fright. I have addressed it with tapping. I thought what I would do is just sort of kind of talk about it and give you point you in a direction into how you can work on it, either for yourself or if you want to help somebody else. So the first thing is, when it comes to working with any individual or on myself, the first thing I do is I take a step back and I say, okay, what do I know to be true? What do I know to be true? What I'm essentially reminding myself of is to take a step back from the problem, challenge, pain, symptom, or issue and remember what's really going on. And what's really going on is that in any given moment, from moment to moment, what we are actually experiencing is the power of thought in the moment. In other words, our consciousness is directed onto a particular thought, and that thought is what's creating the visceral experience in our body. It happens simultaneously. It's a one-to-one approach, right? One-to-one phenomenon, I guess you should say, or you could say. That's insanely important. Like, whenever we get caught up, we are forgetting that fact. We're forgetting that what's really causing our discomfort is the fact that we're actually focused on a thought that is creating that discomfort. Now, the other important thing to remember is that what we resist persists. And so because we have forgotten that what we are experiencing is the power of thought in the moment, we try to do something about it. We try to think more about it, or we get innocently obsessed with it, and we focus more and more of our consciousness onto that thought. And what happens? We get more and more of it. A great example of this is when I used to have severe social anxiety. What I would do is when I found myself in a situation, I would have thoughts that I would have anxious thinking. So I would think about, am I going to stumble my words? Am I going to look like I know what I'm talking about? They look smarter than me. I'm not smart enough to be, I'm not, whatever, I don't measure up somehow. And so what would happen is all my consciousness, my attention was being focused on all of those thoughts rather than on the person in front of me. So rather than focused on being present and having a conversation and being focused on that individual in front of me, I was more focused on all of this up here. And it's taken some time, but as I've seen more and more clearly, the correlation between where my consciousness is focused and the experience I'm getting in life, just the more free I felt in so many different situations. And so that's a huge aspect, a huge part of this. And it really comes before the tapping. Like, in other words, if you see this clearly, that can be enough. You don't really need to tap. Now, tapping can be a powerful catalyst to calm the nervous system so that you can begin to see. The whole fact that you can do something like this and have a calming effect and actually change your focus, well, that means that whatever you're experiencing is not permanent. Whatever the challenge, problem, pain, issue, or symptom you're experiencing is not permanent. It's thought. And thought, like dreams, come and go. Thought like the seasons, thought like the tides coming in and out. thought like your mood from one moment to the next. It shifts, it changes, it ebbs, it flows. And so recognizing that can help you approach these uncomfortable situations with more ease and more grace and more lightness. Now, that being said, I know what most people here are here for is, how do I tap, what do I say, that kind of thing. So knowing that what you're actually up against is an internal production, that is, it's thought generated, it's what you're doing inside, it's the thoughts and the feelings that are creating your experience. What we can do is begin to get curious. So if I was working with you and you had stage fright, I would ask you questions. The number one thing I would look at is, the first question I always ask is, how do you know? How do you know? I may not ask that directly, but that's what I'm thinking. How do you know you have stage fright? And what you'll do is you'll come up with all sorts of scenarios, things, experiences in the past that you've had, and these are sort of the building blocks. These are the proofs of how you know you have stage fright. Notice you could be sitting in a room all by yourself, and if you access these building blocks, you can create stage fright in an empty room, right? So that's important distinction to see. There's an internal process. You have an internal process. Another question I might ask is, when does it happen? When does it show up? Like for me, when I had social anxiety, it could be one person. I could be having a conversation with one person, and I could experience massive levels of anxiety, let alone speaking in public. Forget about it, right? Now, by the way, I have no problem one-on-one, and also obviously I speak on video, but also I give talks, in front of groups of people. And so seeing through the illusion of thought and using tools to your advantage like tapping can be a major catalyst and help you in these areas of your life. So getting curious, really getting curious about what's the internal process. And I might also ask, when's the first time this happened? What's the earliest memory you have of having stage fright? I might also ask, what's the worst time experience you had when it comes to stage fright and this experience? I might try to get curious about what they believe to be true. In other words, usually when someone has stage fright, they are creating thoughts of the future, right? So thoughts of the future that haven't even happened yet, but they create these uncomfortable feeling thoughts about something that hasn't happened yet, and that's what they're feeling, right? So it's not about the past, it's really about what they're doing in the moment to create this thing that they call stage fright, right? And so once you begin to get curious, and you can write these things down, you can just deal with them one-on-one, right as they come up, as you ask yourself these things. But what you want to do is just go inside and notice. Is there a picture in your mind? Is there a memory? Is it an overall feeling? And sometimes this can be overwhelming, but the more you see it as just a projection on a screen, the more you see it as just something that you are witnessing, the easier it can be to turn, face it, and begin addressing it. Now, what are we doing when we address it? Well, one of the most important things is to not resist the experience. In other words, I've seen it time and time again. When people are tapping on certain issues, they're really trying to avoid the experience, right? I remember one of my dear friends who was a practitioner, and I would work with her periodically. And what I'd see is when we went to the deep stuff, she would just do this. She would really kind of, and it would be like tapping on a walnut shell. She would just put up her, she just didn't want to deal with it. And so part of what I really tried to do with her was just trying to get her to slowly but surely stand in the feelings and see them for what they are, see them for what they were, which is just thought. It's just thought. Nothing is happening to you in the moment except you are focusing on thoughts that are creating, that are creating this experience, uncomfortable experience in your body. When you stop resisting it and you sit in it and you witness it and you tap, you are sending that calming signal to the body, and you are allowing your amygdala to disengage. And when you do this, your capacity to see more, to see the situation differently, to see the fact that what you are up against is just thought, it just begins to melt away. Now again, a big part of that is not fighting it, not resisting it, but rather turning it to it, facing it, tapping and letting go. Now this goes hand in hand with the video I made about aiming, because this is aiming. Aiming is looking at the thought, feeling the feeling, and tapping. And you can say, I release and let it go, I let it go, let it go. Traditional EFT says there's an energy system that runs through your body, and tapping frees up that energy system. I say, why do you need meridians for that? You're all energy. Emotion is energy, right? And so why don't we get to the nitty-gritty? The nitty-gritty is you, who you truly are, which is consciousness, is focused on thought. That thought is creating an experience. So focus on it, tap on it, let it go. The reason it feels uncomfortable is because you've been resisting it. The reason it's showing up is because it wants to be released. So why not allow that to happen? And as you do, and you can utilize tapping to facilitate this process, and as you release it, your neurology updates, your nervous system recalibrates, and you grow, you expand. Who you are begins to expand. You're more open to seeing the true wisdom of the moment. And this is wisdom that you already know. We're all privy to it. We just have different experiences of it because of our life experiences, right? We've all had conditioning, we've all had experiences, but those things aren't who you truly are. Who you truly are is the wisdom. Who you truly are is consciousness itself. When you use tapping to relax the body, clear the mind, and fall back into who you truly are, now you've created a space where you can see more. You can intuitively see the answer that's going to make the biggest difference for you. So, to recap, stage fright is an internal process. You can probably do it in an empty room. So get curious about how you're producing it. What are the thoughts? What are the feelings? What are the memories? What are the thoughts that you're thinking about that haven't even happened, right? When's the first time it happened? Take a look at these building blocks. You can write them down and just tap through them by standing, facing them. Don't avoid them. Don't be one of these people, right? Be open to it, recognize it for what it is, that you can process it, update your neurology, recalibrate your nervous system, and grow from the process. Of course, if I was working with you, no two people create stage fright or anything else the same way. The mechanics are the same, but how you do it is unique to you. And so if we were to work together, part of this process would be that coaching process of really just getting curious. Number one, getting curious on how you're doing it. And then number two, really coaching you on the nature of your experience, of our experience, how we create our experience. Because when we really have that as a foundation, that's going to serve you. That's going to serve you in ways that I can't even really explain. Only you can experience it for yourself, because it's an internal realization. It's a spiritual realization, really. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps. I love to hear your comments. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. If you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe. Check the description of this video for some helpful links. These are the things that I have created, and also partners that have created things that I use myself: meditation, hypnosis, tapping, all that fun stuff, all that great stuff. Very helpful. All right, this is Alan Combies, transformational coach. This is Morning Coffee with Alan. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.